Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Egyptian. This is such a wonderful place. When I grew up here in Boise in the 60s and 70s, we were pretty protective of what it meant to be from Boise. You know, it started off by knowing how to say Boise correctly, but it meant a lot of things. For instance, there's a park over by the federal building on 6th and 4th Streets. And officially, its name is Memorial Park, but we never even knew that. We all just called it the Greens. As in, Dave, where are you going? I'm going to the Greens, Mom. Yeah, you know, it was easier. It was a Boise thing. And when you grew up here at that time, you played sham battle. Did anybody here play any sham battle? You might know it as dodgeball, you know, and the rules are the same, but come on. Sham battle is way cooler than dodgeball. And you know, we used to love to go out for a finger steak dinner at the Torch. Now understand, the Torch had a really different kind of entertainment in those days, and I'll never really forgive the Torch for that. But you know, they had great finger steaks. You know, at that time anyway, and maybe still, if you went somewhere else, anywhere in the country and ordered finger steaks, they wouldn't know what you were talking about. But Boise was known for our finger steaks. You know, being the most livable city in the country is great and all, but we were the city of finger steaks. And you know what makes Boise unique is we play our football on the blue turf. Can you believe that this is the 30th anniversary of the blue? Let's hear it for Boise State. Wish them well this year. You know, the only other color we like as well as blue, and that's gold. And Kristen Armstrong brought us some more of that back. Her third gold medal in a row. You know, we just renamed Municipal Park Kristen Armstrong Municipal Park. If you didn't catch that, we're just so proud of her. She means so much to our city. Well, you know, these things get you thinking. What are the characteristics that define who we are in this place at this time? What does it mean to be from Boise, to be a Boisean? Because Boise's changing, you know, for the better, I think. But if we can define the values of what it means to be from Boise, if we can call those out, then we have such a better chance of preserving those values even as we grow. And you know, nothing maybe shows that better. There are so many ways that we do that. You know, in addition to Kristen Armstrong, this year there was a great story about that really defined the characteristics to be from Boise. And that's the story of Charlie Linville. It wasn't quite as well reported as Kristen Armstrong, but it's such a pleasure for me to tell you about Charlie this morning. You know, Charlie was born in Boise, he grew up here. He graduated from Boise High in 2004. And after graduating, he wanted to serve his country, so he joined the Marines. And after training, he was sent for a deployment in Iraq, and he served honorably in Iraq. And when he got home, he decided to continue and to get training in diffusing explosives, in diffusing IEDs. And after that training, he was redeployed, this time to Afghanistan. And he successfully diffused dozens of IEDs. Well, one day, Charlie's luck ran out, and an IED exploded, and it shattered his body. And you know, after several surgeries, the doctors told him they couldn't save his leg, and it was amputated from the knee down. But that's just the beginning of the story of Charlie Linville. After those 2 tough deployments and all that physical injury, you know, Charlie could have just continued recuperating and gone on to what was next. But he decided to go a different way. Charlie Linville decided to show that a combat amputee could do anything. And by anything, Charlie meant climbing Mount Everest. Did I mention Charlie's from Boise? You know, after years in intense training, he told us he had to really become a world-class athlete. Well, Charlie Linville made it. This last May, he reached the summit of Mount Everest, literally the top of the world, the only combat amputee to ever do this. What an honor it is for me to welcome this morning, but more importantly, to recognize Charlie Linville with the highest honor that the city of Boise can give, the key to the city. Please welcome Charlie up here today. Recognize him. God bless you. Oh, my. God bless you. God bless you. God love you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see you live. Wow. You know, through Charlie, you see the values that it means to be from Boise, values of perseverance and loyalty and duty. In this morning, or this afternoon, excuse me, I want to talk about 5 other values, 5 values that I think are characteristic of what it means to be from Boise. But you know, before I do that, one of the joys of serving as the mayor is to serve with a group of the most committed public servants that I've ever come in contact with, this great city council. Will the city council members please stand, and let's give them a round of applause. You know, of all of what it means to be a Boisean, I may be proudest of the fact that we're a welcoming city. Whether it was my grandparents decades ago or refugees that came just a few months ago. In fact, we've been nationally recognized for how well we welcome refugees into our community. And you know, some of the most authentic and committed Boiseans aren't from Boise, and they're not even from the U.S. But these folks, their desire to be part of this community and what they do to come and to stay here is just a story like none other. And you know, on top of that, the individuals and families and groups all across the city that welcome these folks, we can all be so proud of it. Let me show you what I mean in this video.
If you get to know the people that are coming into our community, the refugees that are coming into our community, you might be surprised.
Their homeland was Burma, Myanmar. But we also knew that they had fled Burma.
Read here, why too much?
Having experienced some of what they've experienced in terms of having been displaced, of having experienced violence in their families, they come traumatized.
The city of Boise is embracing. We have a large segment of people who are embracing the refugees that are coming into our city. These are wonderful people that we come alongside. Rafik and Roshita are beautiful people. They want to be Americans. They want to love this country. They want to contribute to this country. In fact, Rafik is working full-time right now, serving our community. They're here to stay, and they're going to provide such richness to our way of life.
It's been very rewarding to see how the children have adapted to being in the United States, because children are just naturally more resilient anyway. And so to see how Muhammad, who as a second grader, his interest in science and biology has grown.
I like reading and soccer and playing for my friend.
And coming alongside these refugee families means to us developing a partnership where we respect each other's cultures. The role I play in the lives of this family is uncle. I respect them as my children.
We entered into this relationship thinking of how we could bless this family. And yet, as this friendship has grown and gone deeper, the blessings have come back to us exponentially.
Getting kind of choked up right now, but Rafiq, Roshita, and the 3 kids. Basically, we're all family. We all fit together.
You know, being a welcoming city means we welcome home those that are already here. You know, one of the toughest situations that we've had to deal with in the time that I've been mayor is the situation at Cooper Court. You know, but the humane and the kind way that our police officers handled that tough situation, it just made a world of difference. But what I'm even happier about is over the last 18 months, we've gone to work on positive solutions. How do we help those most in need? And just in the last few months, we've secured financial commitments from Ada County, from St. Al's, from St. Luke's, along with the city and the Idaho Housing and Finance Association. And now we're poised to build the first ever Housing First permanent supportive housing development in the state of Idaho. It'll be home to we hope between 40 and 50 chronically homeless, a great place for them to stay. What's more, the services that'll help them get the kind of help they need. Tomorrow, we're going to open up requests for proposals. And over the next several months, go to work in constructing that facility and getting the services, the wraparound services ready that are so important. Please today recognize and thank our partners, Ada County, St. Al's, St. Luke's, the Idaho Housing and Finance Association. Please give it up for them. There's somebody from all of those groups. You know, being from Boise, across generations meant a commitment to education and to educational opportunity. Our public school system in Boise is one of the best around. And you know, Boise State continues to do amazing things, bigger and better things. Today I want to talk about 3 more parts of an educational system and part of our commitment to educational access. And the first begins before a young person even officially starts school, and that's the Boise Pre-K project. I think some of the students from this Pre-K project gave the Pledge of Allegiance just a little while ago. You know, 60 students from Hawthorne and Whitney Elementary. We've been able to serve 60 students all this last year because of the help of many in the community in donating to that, individuals and groups, and the great work of the Boise School District. And it's already making a very important difference. The Idaho Reading Indicator, it tests these young people on their readiness to go to kindergarten, on their readiness to read. And they've found that the group of students that attended the program were 20 to 30% more prepared than they would have been without the program. It works, and we can't stop until every young person in Boise gets that same opportunity. We wouldn't have had a chance to do that without the community in, but most importantly, the great work of the Boise School District. I want to recognize Don Coberly and the Boise School District right now for all their good work. You know, another important part of an educational system and what you do after high school, and of course that means Boise State, but it also means the College of Western Idaho. You know, from a standing start just 9 years ago, the College of Western Idaho already serves 18,000 students. You know, in the time that I've been speaking, I think they've registered another 2,000 more. But in order to serve that explosive growth, they need the facilities. And for that reason, they're going out for a facilities bond this November. The details of that will be coming out from them next week. But we know, on average, a graduate of College of Western Idaho earns $10,000 more than one with only a high school diploma. It makes such a difference to these students, but what it means to us, all of us in the community, to grow the kind of economy that we need, the skills that we need to stay competitive. The College of Western Idaho's facilities include a great campus on the west end of downtown Boise. It's the perfect spot to put a community college. And Boiseans supported the creation of the College of Western Idaho at higher levels than anyone else in the valley. They needed us then 9 years ago, and they need us now. We've got to lead the way to get them the 2/3 vote that they need. Let's help them and make sure this November we support the bond and the College of Western Idaho has the kind of facilities they need. Another important part of learning in any community and in our city is a great library system. We've gone to work on it. We've worked on neighborhood libraries. And now we'll have our 4th neighborhood library in Bound Crossing. We should finish that up by the spring. And once Bound is finished, we can turn to the mothership, to the main library. The library is a place where people go for inspiration, where they go to dream big dreams and help make that happen. It's really a gathering place for our whole community. And beginning this fall, we're going to be working on a plan to modernize and expand and really build a new main library. It's going to take the help of all of us. We're going to have to piece together a public-private partnership, but we simply have to do that now. So over the next few years, we can have the kind of new main library that every citizen of Boise rightly deserves. Another thing that's great about Boise is doing business here. What does it mean to do business in the city of Boise? What's a Boise business like? I'm going to start by recognizing the good work of the Chamber. Without the Chamber of Commerce, I don't know that we could bring you this event. I want to give a shout out to Bill Connors and all the team at the Chamber for all the good work that they do. I'm sure most of you know this, but if you don't, take a look at a map. We are the most remote city of our size in the country, the farthest away from another city of 100,000 people or more. So consequently, we have to be self-reliant. And one of the hallmarks of Boise businesses is we dig in and get it done here, that we build great businesses locally, whether it's Joe Albertson's or Harry Morrison or the Parkinson Brothers in Micron. That's really served us so well, and those great businesses continue to do great things here. And that continues today. I get to talk to businesses all across the city, great ones, but it's so fun to share one of those stories with you here this morning. Tori and Josh Corson are 2 Boise brothers. Tori's had success practicing law, and Josh, he may hold the record for the most credits ever obtained from Boise State without getting a degree. But Josh has a whole bunch of credits in engineering, and he can build about anything. Well, it seems a few years ago, the brothers got an offer from a friend of theirs to join him in a business, in a distillery business, craft distillery. And that sounded like fun, but he asked him, "Can you build me a still?" They thought that sounded pretty cool, so they went to work building a still in their garage. Not only did they build a still, they built the tools and materials they needed to build the still. They went on about that, and right when it was nearing completion, their friend came back to him and said that the opportunity had gone away. Well, they could have just gone on and continued doing the other things that they were up to, but they took a look around and noticed there's really not that many still makers, not just in the U.S., but around the world, and that craft distilling is getting more and more popular. So they took that garage still and they put it up for sale, and it sold nearly immediately, and a great Boise business was founded, Corson Distillery. Now they are the 4th largest still maker on the planet. This year they'll do around $6 million of business. Just 2 years after coming out of their garage. They already employ 42 people, and what they are able to do, the craftsmanship they bring to their product, and they build it in scratch right here in Boise. They build it from scratch. Who says that manufacturing in the U.S. is dead? Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure for me to introduce you and recognize the Corson brothers and Corson Distillery. I think they're here. If they stand up, let's give them a hand and welcome them here. The entrepreneurial spirit that the Corson show is so important. It's been so important and will continue to be for all of us here in Boise. And we need to do everything we can to help good ideas go forward, to give them their best chance to succeed. And that's the reasoning behind Trailhead. In Trailhead, we're always looking for what can we add that will do even better, that'll make an even bigger difference. And that's why we added a coding school this year. In 12 weeks, you can take whatever skills you have, and 12 weeks later, you'll have the skills to be part of a web designing team and maybe eventually a career in high tech. Well, we graduated the first cohort just a few weeks ago. And at a hackathon at Trailthon a few weeks ago, one of those graduates so impressed a local company called Vinyl that they hired him on the spot. He went from making $8 an hour to $25 an hour. In fact, we have what we think is the makings of a coding corridor up 8th Street at the library. We just a few weeks ago recognized as young people that got a certificate in coding. You can do that at the library for free. Coming north past Trailhead and that coding school, but the finish is at the end at City Center Plaza, where Boise State is now located, the computer science department. Not only can you get a degree, an undergraduate and graduate degree in downtown Boise, but just a few blocks away are some of the great tech companies, not just in the city, but in the whole country. And these students, many of them have job offers before they ever earn a degree. We are so appreciative. It took a lot of creativity, a lot of foresight, a lot of ingenuity to get that done, to bring a whole part of Boise State downtown. It's going to make a world of difference, not just downtown, but to our whole community. I want to recognize Bob Custra and everybody from Boise State that made that happen. Give it up for them right now. I don't think I've ever met a Boisean that doesn't love the outdoors. And not just love the outdoors, but they have a commitment to protect and enhance what we have here. And I don't know that anything shows that better than 75% of Boiseans voting last November to tax themselves so that we can preserve those important spaces, open space, and clean water. I know you've heard me say this before, but it's so stunning. 75% is so stunning. I looked it up. It's more than Vladimir Putin got his last election. And he cheats. We know that. We don't cheat. The essence of being from Boise means you make commitments now for those that come after us. I think that's the essence of what it means to be from here. And some other great things happened in the outdoors this last year. Thanks to the goodwill and to some help, financial help from two great Boise families from the Simplots and from the Albertsons. we were able to take 2 areas of town, 2 outdoor spaces, and turn them into something really phenomenal. First of all, I'm talking about Esther Simplot Park. Those of you that might have been here for a while, you know that area of town in the West End, you know, I think it can only be accurately described as an industrial wasteland. You know, it's what's left over after the gravel pits and the packing plants move away. But thanks to the help of the Simplot family and a whole lot of work and resources of the city of Boise, we've cleaned that property out, and not just cleaned it. We took some really tough stuff out of there. Can you believe a whole cement mixer was buried underground? The EPA was not very active in those days. But I tell you, we didn't just clean it up, but you're gonna see when it's completed, it'll be a few more months, but it's gonna be a spectacular public place right along the river, a park that's gonna serve us from years and years to come. But it wouldn't have had a chance if not for the Simplot family. Let's recognize the Simplots for everything they do here in Boise. I'm going to be talking about Esther Simplot Park a lot more next State of the City when it's all finished. And you know, we have the first phase of the Whitewater Park just a little ways from Esther Simplot, and it's just rocking. It has already been so successful. If you haven't been over there, you got to take a look. Maybe you can't kayak or surf like I cannot, but it's just so amazing to watch these athletes perform their craft. But you know, we have a second phase. We've always planned a second phase, but now thanks to the generosity of the Catherine Albertson's Family Foundation, what we're going to be able to do, they have dedicated $3.5 million to us, along with resources from the city of Boise. We now know it's secure that we will develop the second phase of the Whitewater Park over the next 2 years. It's going to be stunning. But you know, the Albertsons family wasn't through there. Thanks to a gift of $1.25 million. You know, one of the toughest spaces in all cities, if you have an elevated freeway like the connector does, one of the toughest spaces is underneath there. What do you do with it? How do you make something positive of that? And you know, thanks to their gift, the Road Skateboard Park, which was a nice facility but pretty much underused, thanks to their gift, matched with resources of the city of Boise, what's been described to me by people that you know, you're going to see more about them as the best skateboard park in the world, not just in the country. People that know tell me that, but as much as I'd like to tell you about it, let me show you what I mean by that in this video.
A 100 years ago, kids were playing stickball on the street because they had no place else to go. And what happened? They were breaking windows and they were a nuisance, and you wanted to get those kids out of here. Instead, what we did is we built parks and we built ball fields, and then those kids had a place to go. We could have just said, you know, it's not gonna work. We're gonna turn it into a parking lot. But the skateboarders and those people that were involved in this never gave up on it. They never stopped. I mean, literally, their blood and their sweat is down here in this place. And that's what made it happen.
Like, it really took all of us, you know, the community, JCAF coming in and the city coming on board with us, and BSA and the skaters, you know. It really was just such a unique process. Rhodes is taking on that life and attracting all kinds of people, you know, from the skateboard industry.
When we experienced what we experienced here in Boise with all the warmth and open arms, it exactly mirrored what skateboarding is about.
This could be really awesome for the community and for the brand and for skateboarding, and I really like it here.
What Boise has going on, they know how to do it, and they know how to be about community.
And the people had so much to do with that. It was instrumental.
It's really cool to see what Rhodes is doing. It's kind of taking on a life of its own at this point in time.
Having a livable city is a city that you feel connected to and that you want to be part of.
The Albertsons family and the foundation they've created and what they are pouring into this town and this city and this state and the Boise Skateboard Association and what these guys do in and outside of work and Grindline coming in here. I have never seen a community rally like this, not just for skateboarding, for the state of Idaho. It's just unbelievable.
Isn't that something? When you see those young people doing those tricks, it makes you think, I'm 56-year-old, maybe I could do that. I haven't talked to Parks about this, but maybe one of those great big sumo padded suits, and I'll take a whack at that. Finally, folks, we are a city that loves the arts. Whether it's Shakespeare or Tree Fort, we bring a commitment to the arts, to going and supporting arts groups. And along with that comes a deep appreciation for the history of our city. We saw that in the Boise 150. So many events were so well attended and so great. So we've had a chance this last year to marry those two important values in the city of Boise. And I'm talking about the James Castle House. I'm not sure if you're familiar with James Castle, but James Castle was a self-taught artist. He grew up in Boise, lived most of his life here. He passed away in the late 70s, but he lived nearly his entire life off a hill road in Boise. James was born deaf, and he never really learned to sign, but he expressed himself and he communicated through his drawings and through his art. James Castle's story is the kind of Boise story that might have been lost. But his is a very different story. He's become internationally recognized for his art. There's been shows at the Smithsonian, at the Museum of Modern Art in Tokyo and in London. He is an influential and a very important artist internationally. And our department at Arts and History recognized how important James Castle is to our history and to the arts, the artists and art, great work that goes on here. And when it became available, along with support of the City Council, we purchased James Castle's house, and we're going to restore it. And not just restore it, but expand it where we have exhibition space. And maybe even more important than that, there'll be space to put an artist in residence so they can further their art for years and years to come. It's such a great project. It'll come to completion over the next year and some. But none of that would have been possible if we didn't have a Department of Arts and History, Terry Shoresman at the helm, and this great City Council to commit to it. Recognize Terry Shoresman and the Department of Arts and History for their great work. I've tried this afternoon to identify the values that characterize Boise, the values that have meant so much to us as we become the city that we are. But it's just so important when you take all of that and combine it, it really adds up to something bigger. It says something important about what it means to live here. And I believe that it's this, that Boise is not just a place, it's a story. It's a story that's been told for over 150 years, and we keep on telling it today. And it gets better and stronger the more we tell that story. It gets deeper and more meaningful with each person we welcome in to be a part of that story. It's the story of all of us. It's our shared story. And if you take anything away from what I say today, let it be this. We're all a part of the story of Boise, and we have a sacred duty to play our part. That can mean so many things. Certainly, climb Mount Everest or win a gold medal. But it means so many things, large and small. For instance, we have to continue to be the kind of city where you let someone into traffic when they need to merge. You know what I mean? How important that is? Absolutely. But it isn't just that. You let somebody in, what do you have to get? You got to get the wave. The other part of that is to get the wave, to be the kind of city that continues to give the space and get the wave. You know, these small acts of kindness, of civility, added up across the city, they make such a difference. That's what will make us the most, those are the kinds of things that will make us the most livable city in the country. You know, when you came in here this afternoon, you might have noticed signs that read, "I am Boise." It's part of our effort to show everyone that each of us has such an important part to play in the story of Boise. I am Boise, you are Boise, but what's most important, we are Boise. It means so many things. Let me tell you another important part of it. Boise has to continue to be a place where the pursuit of happiness is alive and well. And you know what I think that means? I think that means you're still able to jump off a bridge when you're 12 years old and land in the Boise River. That's a thrill, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't cost a thing. You need to be able to skateboard and jump and swim in the river. All those things add up. Those are the things that are so important. You know, it's all those little things, big and small, added up. That's what I'm talking about. You know, because if we don't do those things, if we don't continue to do all those things, large and small, bit by bit, it'll slip away. We've seen that too many times all across the country and beyond. You know, bit by bit, it won't mean what it meant. It'll no longer mean what it meant to be from Boise. You know, think about it. If we don't continue to be the kind of city where we greet people we don't even know, the kind of city where outdoor amenities and opportunities are there for everybody, and all you really have to do is show up. If only the wealthy have educational opportunities and access to knowledge, you know, if we're only the kind of city that gives that, if we don't nurture great companies here in town, if we're not a welcoming city, we would have lost what it means to be a Boisean. Well, not as long as we're all still breathing. That can't happen, and it won't happen. Rather, the story of Boise will get better. You know, some of you may be familiar with a book called The Boys in the Boat. It's a true story of 8 young Americans, mostly from poor backgrounds, an 8-man rowing crew. They won the gold medal in the 1936 Berlin Games. You know, and rowing is just the perfect metaphor for what I'm trying to get across. You know, I pull my oar and you yours, and together we do something bigger and better than we could have done alone. You know, in the book is a quote that I just think hits it right on the head. It says, "Rowing is a symphony of motion, and when we row well, we near perfection. And when we near perfection, we touch the divine. The you of yous, you touch your soul." Wow, isn't that it? You know, when each of us does our part, when we pull together, it elevates us. It elevates us all. And when we're elevated in that way, we near perfection. And when we near perfection, we touch the divine. And more importantly, we preserve what's divine, what's sacred, what we love about Boise for those that come after us. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless all of you, and God bless the great city of Boise, and thank you all so very much. Hey. Thank you.